If you've been looking into the Brisbane market but have been struggling to find some of the most undervalued properties in the city, then this is the video for you. In this video, we're going to talk about 3 of the most statistically undervalued suburbs in the city based on our analysis of looking at over 423 suburbs in Brisbane in the last week. Now, while there are many other incredible suburbs in Brisbane right now, these 3 are a great place to start. Now, the first suburb that Simon and I wanted to have a look at today is a suburb called Goodna, which is 20 k's from the CBD on the southwestern corridor of Brisbane. Now, if you would draw a line 20 kilometres around Brisbane CBD, Goodna is one of the most affordable, if not the most affordable suburbs in the entire CBD right now. Now, according to CoreLogic, the average house price in Goodna is $600,000 with an average weekly rental return of $500 per week. Obviously, like any suburb in Australia, there's a complete mix of different housing styles, from units to townhouses, houses on smaller blocks, and houses on much larger pieces of land. Now, Goodna has gone absolutely ballistic, absolutely smashing the national average over the last 12 months, growing by more than 25%. On top of this, the rental vacancy rates in the suburb are chronically undersupplied, with a vacancy rate below 1% right now.
Now let's have a look at a couple of properties that have recently sold in Goodna. Now, as investors, you all know that we love buying houses on big blocks of land in nice, quiet, family-friendly streets. So the first property that we're going to look at today is 15 Bellevue Road in Goodna. Now, this awesome low-set brick and tile house, it's got 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 4 car spaces on a 607 square metre block of land, has recently sold for $735,000 in March 2025. Now, the reason this property is sold significantly above the median house price is because it's one of the best properties that you can buy in the area. Having that 4th bedroom, the extra bathroom compared to the average property in the suburb is going to force it to sell for a slightly higher price, but it will also get you a much stronger rental return. In fact, this house is likely to rent for between $600 to $650 per week right now, fetching an incredible rental yield. Now, as you can see, this property is perfect for that investor that's looking for a nice, low maintenance, tenant ready property that they can set and forget, get some good quality tenants in there and hold it for the long term. On top of that, what we love about this property is it's situated in a great pocket of the suburb on a nice quiet street, super close to some of the local schools, a very short drive to the local train station as well, and not too far from some of the local amenities such as cafes, shops and restaurants. Now, what I love about Goodna is it is located in that southwestern corridor of Brisbane, which all of us should know by now that this is one of the fastest growing regions in the country at the moment, and the population is expected to double within the next 10 to 15 years.
Now, the second suburb that we wanted to talk about today is 30 kilometres from the CBD on the northern beaches of Brisbane, and it's a suburb called Deception Bay, or D Bay. Now, D Bay, or Derelict Bay as it was referred to in the olden days, had a really bad brand name. It had a lot of housing commission, it had a few flooding related issues, and it had a very low average household income, as well as a high percentage of renters living there. But like many of the other great beachside suburbs around Australia, like Fremantle in WA, like St Kilda in Melbourne, or like Cronulla or Maroubra in Sydney, at some point or another, these suburbs on the beaches with the poor brand names actually gentrify and become significantly better than they were in the past. Now, 10 years ago, when we started buying property in Deception Bay and the neighbouring beachside suburbs, the difference between D Bay and some of the others was about $50,000. But as we've gone through COVID and all of these people from interstate and overseas have come rushing into Queensland to buy cheap and affordable beachside property, the difference between these suburbs is now hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in the premium end of town, even as much as $1 million between literally one suburb versus the next one. Now, as investors, that leaves a little bit of blood in the water and an opportunity for smart people like yourselves to check out this suburb and get the last remaining cheap and affordable beachside property in Brisbane before everything in the area goes well over $1 million.
Now let's take a look at a property that's recently sold back in April of 2025, which is 48 Shane Avenue in Deception Bay. Now, this cute little low-set brick and tile with 3 beds, 1 bath and a couple of car spaces on a 640 square metre block of land has recently sold for $750,000. Now, what I love is this property is located on a nice, quiet, family-friendly street, and it's perfectly situated on a nice rectangular block, which gives you options for the future. Now, we can consider this property to be nice and tenant-ready as it is right now, but it could use a little cosmetic upgrade. If I were to buy this property, I would love to rip up the carpets and put down some floating flooring, paint internally, maybe replace some of those window coverings and light fittings to just modernize and make this property pop so that you can appeal to a better quality tenant.
You know, what are your thoughts on the red gutters and downpipes as well as the yellow garage door? Would you keep that or would you change that up as well?
Look, you're not wrong. The outside could use a little bit of a cosmetic upgrade as well. It's funny how times change over the years, and what used to look good now people look at it as a bit of an eyesore, you know, but obviously it still appears to be tenant ready and not really in a position where you need to do that maintenance, but eventually you want to modernize the exterior of the property, give it a little bit more street appeal as well. But something that I think is important about this property as well is, given that it's on that rectangular block and you've got a little bit of side access and a nice big flat backyard, it is primed for some development potential, maybe a little granny flat in the backyard as well, subject to council approval. So you'd need to talk with the town planner. Obviously, we haven't had a chance to do that on this particular property, but I'd love to see a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom granny flat in the backyard that you could rent out separately to massively increase the cash flow return up there right now.
You know, I personally love the idea of that granny flat. So what do you think the house could rent for in its condition, as you said, with the slight cosmetic reno and then the 2-bedroom granny flat out the back?
You're looking at about probably $550 per week for the 3-bed, 1-bath. Maybe you could get a bit closer to $600 because the vacancy rates are just over 1% and it's pretty hot to find a rental. But granny flats up there, if you can build a 2-bed, 1-bathroom, you're looking at about $400 minimum, up to sort of $450, but in some instances you may even get closer to $500. But at the end of the day, this is one of many properties in Deception Bay that sold recently below that $750,000 mark, and I think there's limitless opportunity up there right now, especially if you want to buy in a suburb that's super close to the water and surrounded by many more affluent suburbs with a lot of higher income earners, and as you said earlier, much higher median house price as well.
Now, the third and final suburb we wanted to discuss today is suburb 27 k's from the city of Brisbane, called Waterford West. Now, this suburb is directly south of Brisbane, in between Brisbane CBD and the Goldie. The benefit of a suburb like this is incredible infrastructure and very, very high quality schooling with super affordable house prices. The average property in a Waterford West is selling for about $670,000 at the moment, with the average weekly rent return being somewhere between that $500 and $550 per week. Like all of these affordable suburbs in Brisbane right now, properties are selling extremely fast, and again selling in between 1 to 7 days from the day that they come online. In the last 12 months, there was about 106 properties sold in this suburb, which means if you are forced to sell or you want to revalue your property, then it's a market where things move pretty readily. On top of this, the vacancy rates are extremely low and there's some very, very high quality infrastructure in the area like Griffith University.
Now let's take a look at 12 Water Street that's recently sold in Waterford West. This old 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom Queenslander style house on a massive 700 square metre block has recently sold for just over $700,000. Now we find many properties like this in Waterford West, which we absolutely love as investors because it gives you so much potential to add value. Being that high set Queenslander gives you the capacity to just work with what you've already got, upgrading and improving upstairs of the property, but also having the capacity to maybe build in downstairs and add an extra bathroom or laundry down there and create a little bit of a utility space that you can use down there. But where I really see the value on this particular property is working with the backyard. Now in Logan, they've recently changed some zoning, and if you own a property that's got more than 700 square meters of land, you may be able to strata title subdivide that property. Now, once again, you need to talk with the local council or a town planner to determine whether 12 Water Street has this capacity. But I've recently done one in a neighbouring suburb that looked very similar to this type of property, and it's just been approved by council. So what you could look at doing on this property is actually building another 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in the backyard of the property that would cost you about $450,000, maybe $500,000 to complete once you factor in all of those council costs. And then what you could do is just rent that property in the backyard out separately and rent out the main house to get multiple incomes. And working with the council, you can strata title subdivide that property to get 2 separate titles, and that'll give you the capacity to sell half and keep half, sell both of them, or keep both of them. So what I love about this area is a lot of properties are on bigger blocks of land that have this capacity to add some value. So you're not just relying on the market, you're kind of putting in that sweat equity to add some value to the property and get more bang for your buck. So absolutely love this buy, and kind of jealous I didn't get it myself.
G'day guys, my name's Ben and I'm the director here at Pumped on Property, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you for watching our content today. Now, if you're thinking about buying an investment property in the next 3 to 12 months, then the team and I would love to offer you a one-on-one strategy session. In that session, we can talk about exactly where you are right now, where you'd like to be longer term, and we can deeply educate you on the Australian market. And then you can take that information and go and absolutely smash it on your own, or potentially become one of the small number of clients that we work with each week. To book your session, all you have to do is go to www.pumpedonproperty.com and click that book your free strategy session button. But either way, we wish you all the best on your journey as an investor to financial freedom.